Have you heard of the famous omelette called Arnold Bennett? Well, if you haven't, or if you haven't tried it, I'm going to show you how to make it. It is decadent, rich, and it's one of those recipes that you want to create for a special occasion or on the weekend. Now, there's 3 components to this delicious omelette. Of course, the eggs with lots of chives through it. There's a smoked fish component. I'm going to be using some salmon, and there's a delicious Mornay sauce. It's rich and it is just divine. So let's start with the milk that's going to go into our decadent Mornay sauce. I've just got some milk that I've just been warming up. You want it to come to a simmer. I'm going to flavour it with a bay leaf. And I'm also going to add the fish. Now, traditionally, this recipe, which was in fact made by a chef at the Savoy Hotel in London for the famous novelist Arnold Bennett, he actually used some haddock, some smoked haddock. I find it a little bit tricky to find at your supermarket, so this is a great alternative. So it's already cooked, so we don't want to overcook it, but what we want to do is allow that milk to impart the smoky flavour from this fish. While that's infusing, I'm going to turn another pot on, and this is going to be for our Mornay sauce. Now, the base of a Mornay sauce is some lovely butter. I'm using this Australian certified organic butter, and it's salted butter, which I always have in my fridge. So we need about 30 grams of butter, and we will be using a little bit more of this for our scrambled eggs later on. So we'll cut that into cubes. And whenever you're making a Mornay sauce, you want the same amount of flour to butter. So I've got 30 grams of my salted butter into a pot. You just allow that to melt. And then to that, 30 grams of plain flour. And we want to cook off that flour. So you don't want to start adding that milk before that cooks off a little bit. Now, while that's cooking down, I'm going to remove the fish from the milk. And I'll also remove the bay leaf. It's infused enough, and we're going to use this fish later on when we start assembling the omelette. I can already smell the smokiness in that milk. Delicious. Pop that down. And using a ladle, little by little, we're going to add some milk. So we'll start with a small ladle full, and then with a wooden spoon, give that a mix. I'll add some more milk, and then gradually I'm going to use up all of this milk. Continually stir it. If you see some lumps, by all means, don't be afraid to use a whisk just to really get that Mornay sauce nice and smooth. Look at this glorious Mornay sauce. In actual fact, this is a white sauce, but it's going to turn into a Mornay sauce as we speak because I'm going to add some cheese. I'm using some smoked cheddar. If you can't get your hands on smoked cheddar, don't worry, any cheddar is fine for this recipe. And just allow that cheese to melt in. I have taken the sauce off the heat, so we just want to cool it down a little before we start adding an egg to enrich the sauce. Okay, some flavourings, good pinch of nutmeg, and some mustard, some Dijon mustard. You wouldn't use hot English mustard for this one. It would just overpower it. We just want the piquancy, if you like, the savouriness of that mustard. And now that this has cooled down slightly, I'm just trying to knock out a lot of that heat by whisking vigorously, we can add the egg yolk. And this is just going to help keep that sauce together and also give it a lovely crust at the end. So 1 egg yolk, and whisk that in fast so it doesn't scramble. Speaking of scrambling, let's get on to our omelette, okay? So we've got our eggs here, about 5 eggs. I'll give that a really good whisk, breaking up all those eggs. And before I add the chives, let's warm up a pan. So a non-stick pan on a medium heat. And we'll add another good knob of this salted butter. Say about 10 grams of butter. In it goes. And just allow that to melt. I'll also grab my chives, and I'm going to add some to the garnish and some to the omelette. So just finely chop them. In they go. And I'm not going to salt the eggs because there's enough salt in my delicious butter. So we'll just swirl the pan. Lots of butter for this one. And then in with the eggs. Now, this is a really rustic, rough omelette, and the reason I say that is because we're actually going to layer the egg in a gratin dish with all of the lovely fish and the Mornay sauce. So we're just going to bring this into the sides. Okay, we'll leave these eggs here for a moment. We'll grab another small knob of butter, and we just want to grease our dish. That's great. And then we can add our eggs. See how they're still just slightly runny? That's what we want because they are going into the oven to cook again. Our hot smoked salmon, nice, generous, big chunks. Just dot that in and around our buttery eggs. And now our beautiful sauce. We're just going to drape that over all of our eggs and our hot smoked salmon. Another sprinkle of cheese over the top, and this goes under the grill until that cheese has melted, and this is lovely and bubbly. Now, as soon as that comes out of the oven, it's going to be like molten lava, so I highly recommend allowing it to cool slightly, 5 to 10 minutes before having a taste. I like to finish it off with a sprinkle of chives. And now let's have a taste. Ideally, you want to have this with a side of crusty bread. Make sure you get a bit of the salmon and the egg down the bottom. Every time I make this, I say I have to make this more often because it is that delicious. And yes, it's famous to eat at breakfast, but it would be perfect with a simple side salad for a lunch or even a dinner.